to talk you through some word problems. Like I told many of you last week on Zoom, we are kind of finishing up the one-step word problems, and starting this week, we are going to move on to our two-step word problems. But I wanted to do one last day to review one-step word problems. So this is going to be very, very similar to what we were doing last week, where you guys will read the problem and go through and identify the clue word and then solve the problem. Okay, I'm going to walk you through example 1 and example 2 with you guys on this video using the cube strategy. Remember, if you want a visual for the cube strategy, feel free to say something on Zoom, or feel free to email me or send me a message on Canvas. So there's lots of ways that you can get a hold of me. Let me know if you want a visual for cubes, or if you want a visual for those clue words. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to problem 1. And problem 1 says, the babysitter was very pleased when the baby she was watching slept for 59 minutes. The next day, though, the baby only slept for 22 minutes. So how much longer did the baby sleep the first day? Okay, so we read through our problem. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to start marking it up using our cubes strategy. And if you remember, our cube strategy says that we start with circling our numbers. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight 59 minutes, because that's the first number that I see. And then I also see 22 minutes. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight that too. Okay. So I've done my C, I've circled my numbers. Now I need to go through and I need to underline my question. Okay, and my question is, how much longer did the baby sleep the first day? Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight it yellow. And then it's asking me to box the keywords as my next step. Okay, and I will say, a lot of you guys, I've noticed, are struggling with the keywords. Okay, my suggestion would be, if you are struggling with understanding keywords, go through and use that visual from the first day. Okay, that visual gives you keywords and what operation they are associated with. So if they are associated with addition or subtraction or multiplication or division, okay, that's going to help you it's going to help you figure out what operation you're doing, and B, it's going to help you get the right answer. Okay, so I know that keyword longer is going to clue me in on the fact that I'm going to have to subtract these two numbers. Okay, so I'm going to put the keyword longer under my keyword or clue word. Okay, it's not a ton of information that we could eliminate. If you wanted to, you could get rid of babysitter was very pleased when the baby she was watching. We don't really need to know that. We definitely need to know how long the baby slept the first day and how long she slept the second day. Okay, but we could get rid of that. I'm going to leave it as is, but you are more than welcome to go through and delete that, or go through and cross that out if you wanted to. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write my problem, because I know that I eliminated information, I've circled my numbers, I've boxed my keyword, and I'm ready to write the problem. So I know when I write a subtraction problem, I always start with the bigger number. So I'm going to start with 59 minutes, and then I'm going to subtract 22 minutes, okay? And if I were to solve 59 minus 22, my answer would be 37 minutes, okay? And you can't tell, I actually have a piece of paper right next to me, and I was going through and I was solving that. I was not doing it on a calculator. Okay, and I would encourage you guys not to do this on a calculator, and try to do subtraction by hand, okay? So I know that the baby slept 37 minutes longer the first day than she did the second day. So that was example 1. Now we're going to move on to example 2. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate Google Read Write on my computer. That way you guys can see what Google Read Write, how it reads to me. Okay. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on it. Okay, pop my toolbar up. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button.
59-22 equals 37 minutes.
Oh, and I realized I did not click on this slide where it says problem 2, so it was still reading the last slide, so I apologize for that.
Problem 59-22 equals 37 minutes.
Okay, let's see if it tries.
Problem 59-22 equals 37 minutes.
I don't know why it's reading that from the last slide. So let's try this again. I'm going to start right here.
Problem 2. Family was going on a road trip over spring break. To drive from Colorado Springs to Albuquerque, NM was 388 miles. Then, from Albuquerque to Phoenix, AZ would be 420 miles. Then, they would drive back to Colorado Springs. How many miles would they drive total? Clue words. Problem.
Okay. So I know that was kind of spotty. Sometimes Google Read Write is spotty like that. So I'm going to reread this problem for you. And it says that the Hawk family was going on a road trip over spring break. And it says to drive from Colorado Springs to Albuquerque, New Mexico, was 388 miles. Then from Albuquerque to Phoenix, Arizona, it would be 420 miles. And then they'd have to drive all the way back to Colorado Springs. Okay? So, you have to go through and do your cubes strategy. And I would highly, highly encourage you on this one to do it because this one is going to take some thought process. Okay? So, I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight my numbers. So, I'm going to highlight 388. Okay, and I'll use the Google Read and Write tool. Okay, then I'm going to highlight my 420. Okay, and you can go through and you can highlight miles or you can leave it out. Just know that miles is going to be important because that is going to be the label for our unit. Okay, so we have our numbers highlighted. Okay, and I'm going to go through now and I'm going to highlight my question. And my question is, how many miles did they drive total? I'm going to highlight it green. Okay, and then I need to identify my clue word. Okay, and I see that word total. Okay, and I know that that word total means that I'm going to have to add. Okay, so I'm going to type in my clue word down here. And you'll notice that I am not typing the whole question out. I'm just typing that key word out. Some of you guys have been typing the whole question. Okay, we only want the key word. Okay, so now I'm going to go through And I'm going to eliminate information on this one. I don't need to know that it's the Hawk family and that they're going on a road trip over spring break. That is information that does not help me solve this problem. Okay, so I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to remember, in order to strike out, you have to go to Format, Text, and Strike Through. Okay? The rest of that information is going to be important to me, okay? Normally I would say that you could cross off where the two places, the distance between the two places, but in this case, we actually do need to keep in mind the names of the places that they're going to, because we're going to have to add these numbers more than once, okay? So the very first thing we're going to say is how long did it take them, or how many miles was it between Colorado Springs, where they're starting, to Albuquerque, New Mexico? And that answer is 388. So I'm going to write 388. I'm going to do add, so plus. So 388 was from Colorado Springs to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Then they went from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Phoenix, Arizona, and that drive was 420 miles. Okay, so we're going to add in 420. Now, we are not done, okay, because it says that they have to drive back to Colorado Springs. Okay, so it's not just wanting to know from Colorado Springs to Arizona how many miles did they travel. No, you have to think about it as a whole road trip. Okay, so they're starting here at point A, they stopped here at point B, and they kept on traveling until they got down here at point C, but they have to go back to point B to get back home. Okay, so we're actually going to add these numbers a second time. Okay, so I'm going to add 388 plus 420. Okay, again, I would encourage you to try to do this on paper. Okay, but if you don't, you're going to type in 388 plus 420 plus 388 plus 420. So in total, they drove 1,616 miles. Okay. I hope that made sense why we had to add those numbers twice. And if it doesn't, hop on that Zoom and let me know, and I can try to reword that a different way that makes sense. Okay? If you have questions or get stuck on a problem, remember, I am on Zoom the whole class period. Okay? And I also wanted to remind you guys to make sure that you are submitting your work. Okay, I know you guys have gotten better about that, but there are still a couple of you that are not submitting any work at all. Okay, so please, please, please make sure you submit your work. Okay, again, I'm going to be on Zoom the whole class period if you need help.